We're coming, and we ain't backing down.
We don't need a bunch of cats in here looking in the mirror. Hey, will you shut up?
I'm bitterly disappointed with the officiating today.
Guys being dudes.
And they run through our like through a tin horn, man.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you to our SplitZoneDuo.com subscribers. A special treat this week. I'm here with my co-host, Richard Johnson, and my co-founder and co-host emeritus of Split Zone Duo, Stephen Godfrey. Stephen, how are you?
It's an incredibly long title, but it's accurate. It's accurate.
It's one of those. It's like the what is Stanford's head coach? It's like the something endowed, like Bradford, somebody.
I think every position coach in the building, because I've been in that football office before, they all have that like word soup, and then like defensive backs coach. You know,
Yeah.
Man, it makes me think if anyone wants to make a sizable investment in this program, this Split Zone Duo program, and have us be the John Smith endowed podcaster in football excellence or something, we're willing to do it for you.
We can be bought.
Podcast at splitzonduo.com. Email us. We could talk about it. So we have a lot of coaching carousel stuff to talk about that came down in the lead up right to conference championship games. So we didn't do it live. 27 or so FBS teams is what the number is up to. They're going to have coaching changes this year, depending on how you count certain early season or off season changes.
Alex, I have the number quite higher. I have the total number of openings and clothings at 33 all in. And that's counting Kent State and Stanford. Yeah. Kent State and Stanford.
I might have
that
miscounted
happened before the season. Yeah, I have a total of 33. Your number of, I think it's 27 that are currently closed. And then we have 6 that are currently open, I think is how you got
I think
there.
you might be right.
But
yeah.
I sort of did this own thing yesterday back of napkins. So yes, Godfrey and I had both heard separately that from people who were musing that it was going to get to 40. And I still have some faith that it's going to get to 40, only to validate an opinion that I have. We could still get there.
It wouldn't take much, I think, with the emphasis put on head coaching experience in this particular cycle, like especially at the G5 level. The poaching could continue, although there is a significant interest. Like there's a lot of movement among the FCS, which wouldn't count for our 40 FBS, but it's not. We're not out of the woods yet,
right? And we're certainly going to get an NFL surprise of some sort, I would imagine.
See, the craziest thing to me is that as many as that is, it's all been defanged a bit by Ole Miss immediately just elevating the coordinator and not going on a poaching hunt.
Yes.
And Penn State not hiring a sitting blue blood-ish head coach. Like imagine if Elko or even Rule had taken Penn State and the backfill that was created by that wasn't Iowa State needing a new coach. It's honestly could have been more of a party than it has been, which is saying something considering what a party it's been.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you point that out because it's still been I think it's more about the names that open at the very top. But yeah, I guess it could have been even more ridiculous. It's probably a good thing that it wasn't because we have so much that like we could spend an offseason talking about in terms of like philosophical changes at places. But yeah, I guess you could have shaken out maybe 2 or 3 more like full chain deals where you're grabbing. You're poaching, they're poaching, and you get down to like, although the only MAC coach that left was Jason Candle. I mean, maybe we start, you know what, guys? Cycle hasn't been too crazy because most of the MAC coaches are still employed. There you go. RIP. Sorry, guys.
Let's start with the Penn State chain that begins here. Godfrey, you and our dear friend Ryan Nanny on your show, Phantom Island, did a discussion that I think is really smart, pointing out that Penn State hired Matt Campbell, whom if you had told everyone that Penn State was hiring Matt Campbell the day they fired James Franklin, you'd be like, yeah, really solid. Makes a lot of sense. But that was after 50 plus days, an embarrassing leak of athletic director audio, them pretty clearly not getting at least several of the guys who were definitely on their list. And I guess Richard, like, trying to reach Matt Campbell, but having like the wrong guy's number or something.
I did hear about this. I did hear about this over the weekend this is one that I will tell you that is a search firm, flashing light. Like the Penn State did not use a search firm for this search. There are a couple other ways that
I think
Godfrey
they did. I think they ran a search. Like Chad Chatlos was involved in this.
Oh, I'd heard that Pat did this like by himself.
No.
Okay.
Chad Chatlos and Turnkey ran this search. I think there's a lot of smoke around the Matt Campbell timeline, and that phone number story has magically appeared. Alex, to harken back what we talked about on Phantom Island is like, what is like the old sort of saying, family saying, like all's well that ends well. Yes, and it's funny. I actually want to start on the leaked audio. I know it's leaked audio, but the first time I heard it, I was like, I mean, Oregon is weird. Check. Like, and I don't think anybody in Oregon's being like, us weird? How dare you? I think Oregon had been like, yeah, dog, we're pretty fucking weird. So like that one, it was more about the internal state of things at Penn State. I think that was the controversial part. Like he went all around the world and he was like, I think he's like, fuck Ohio State or whatever. But like, what? Okay. That's not really controversial either. If you're the leader of Penn State, you would want to topple them. It wasn't like a nothing burger of a news like
it made him look
situation.
That bad.
Yeah. I didn't know if there was a smoking gun there. I mean, there was definitely some kvetching about some internal Penn State shit for sure. That probably had the most meat on the bone to me.
I think the biggest thing about it was the timing, because it was 48-ish hours after the Sitake thing blew up. And so it was a piling on of this perception that Pat Kraft was flailing overall. And so you throw this into the mix, and there was probably some Terry Smith. So I don't know who leaked it. I have no idea who leaked it. I don't really have a good guess, if I'm honest.
It doesn't really matter.
But yes, it also doesn't really matter. So there were a lot of obviously factors that created that to be just a bad look. This is also like on one end, it annoys me when people who talk like this just say like, "Oh, I'm just passionate." But on the other end, yeah, Pat Kraft is just passionate, if that's the word we want to use, about how Pat Kraft talks in private and how Pat Kraft operates. So like Pat Kraft runs hot. Like that is just the kind of person that he is, from people who have talked to him that I'm familiar with. And so this does not surprise me that this is how Pat Kraft talks behind closed doors.
It might matter who leaked it if you are concerned at all with. Did you guys see the LeVar Arrington comments about?
No, I did not.
Jay Paterno. And then there was a trustee as well that sort of like LeVar Arrington accused of sort of like doing the business of what we would call like the Joe bots. It's a real, your mileage may vary on how much you invest in the Paterno faction having control or having agency these days. And I think the answer is probably somewhere between none at all and, oh my God, they're a secret sort of like underground organization. Like I think the answer is probably in the middle. They definitely wanted Terry Smith in there. Right? They definitely, like, people got in his ear about wearing the 409 pin and all that shit. And as the Kalani Sitake part of this dragged on, where there was that window where they shut the search down for a considerable amount of time.
10 days to 2 weeks.
And during that, it was like, that was, it's like, hey man, when mold grows in an area, it needs like a combination of several things. It was like a combination of several things for the mold of the Joe bots to be able to like kind of peek their head back into the Penn State conversation. And the reason I bring that up is that might be the origin of the leak in an effort to discredit Kraft, because I know that the Paterno pro Paterno or Paterno, whatever, however you want to describe those people, are very resentful of the power holders currently at Penn State, because they want, what do they want, folks? They want the legacy restored, as they say, above all else. LeVar Arrington, Alex said, they want that done above the actual well-being of the program. That was his point.
What LeVar said, I'll just read a quote, was there are certain people that are actually in prominent positions at the school, and they're prominent names in the school's history, that are taking delight in having the opportunity and the ability to look at our program, be where it's at, so what you can swoop in and save the day the way you want to save the day. Yeah. Pretty good analysis. Very insightful.
Yeah, honestly.
No
Thanks,
notes.
LeVar. A lot of times former players don't really hit the mark, but all right.
It feels pretty accurate.
I do want to go back to Godfrey, that 10 days to 2 weeks of radio silence. What is it that I always say a lot of times in these, Alex? Nature abhors a vacuum. And there was a vacuum for that 10 days to 2 weeks when Penn State was trying really, really hard to move in silence. I do know that Pat Kraft took particular pride in how quiet this search was. They really, really liked that. During that period, I'm talking about. Not when it all broke.
That's funny to me because everyone in the industry was talking about how they were working on a deal with Sitake. So if this guy feels like they ran a quiet search, I got news for him. Everybody and their brother was talking about this. In
the sense of for that 2 week-ish run,
I know what you're saying.
People were trying to figure out in the industry, like, who are they hiring? What are they doing? It's got to be somebody. It's got to be somebody out of left field because there's not this Lane, because it's in the direct contrast to Lane Kiffin sending his wife and kid on an all expenses paid tour of the Southeast. That's what I'm talking about.
I think the paradigm here is very different because there's agency involved with all of the leaks and sort of like sideshows that were created in Kiffin were done motivated by one side or the other. Everything from, hey, Layla and Knox are flying down to Knox or to Baton Rouge, or Ole Miss might miss the playoff now because there's a stipulate that was leaked from Lane's side.
But I don't think we've really talked about that between the three of us. But holy, like the playoff thing with Ole Miss, it's a non sequitur. But oh my god, because that came up on like Saturday and Sunday when I was doing playoff stuff with CBS. But anyway, that's a non sequitur.
Yeah, it's magical how that suddenly became a talking point. I wonder how that happened.
By the way, with the Penn State thing, I don't think I've mentioned this on the show, but it's also not particularly exclusive. I suspect it's the opposite. Jay Paterno has a PR rep who emailed me at least 3 times trying to get him on the show. I assume that this was the case for hundreds of college football podcasts. I mean, the degree of shamelessness with which he was trying to be out front of this is just, it's not unbelievable because it's completely believable.
Oh, no, yeah, it's so on brand.
It's exceptional, but it's exceptional.
No, I think shameless is an okay word to use. Like, they have no couth. There's no tact involved. We can dwell on this because I think the three of us find the whole Paterno like cult shit sad and funny and like it's a unique situation. It reminds me so much of my alma mater sometimes where, and I said this on Phantom Island, like you never eliminate that shit completely. Like time eventually can replace some of these problems because the people with these agendas die. But unfortunately they have children who pick up these legacies. So like, for instance, my alma mater in the mascot situation or the nickname situation or whatever you want to call it, I don't know if you guys have covered Penn State games recently. It's been a minute for me.
The Oregon game.
Right. But like they are still like the Paterno support is still a significant part of the sights and sounds of like a Penn State tailgate.
In the walls, baby.
Yeah.
In the walls. 409.
You don't just murder or excommunicate every single person who's Joe Pa sympathetic. That's not how it works. What you do, and it's the same as seeing like how often can you see the battle flag in the Grove? And the answer to this is when you are winning football games and competing for championships, that shit gets tamped down to its absolute minimum and it becomes an afterthought. And then when someone tries to raise it up at the expense of football, like LeVar Arrington's talking about, people immediately smack it down. Immediately. Like when Ole Miss is successful, when they are in the hunt for, the college football playoff or their 10-win season in the Sugar Bowl or whatever it might be, nobody wants to talk about that shit. And if anybody brings it up, like, oh man, we should do something at the game about the rep, they're like, no, stop it. Right? The same thing happens at Penn State. Last year, nobody was talking about Joe Paterno. Penn State was competing for a national championship, right? They went to the Final Four. This nonsense in the middle of this search, and I know this isn't where we thought we would go with this conversation, will disappear if Matt Campbell is a 10-game winner next season. It will go right away immediately, and they will not try. They will never get that statue out of storage. I promise. It will end if they win. If you win,
yeah. So Godfrey, one area where the bad process here might affect them is that, Richard, I think you said the number was 2 high school players that they signed. I mean, it's essentially nobody. They basically have no high school class. Because this took so long,
Yeah.
They're going to have to portal. I'm sure they're going to get a lot of Iowa State guys, and maybe you can clean up a few stragglers from the high school ranks. But
they're signing a class of like 45 guys over like between portal and February, legacy February guy. Like, and what I think, Alex, I don't think, and James had a stars bent to him, recruiting stars bent to him, that I am very curious to what extent Matt will have. At Iowa State, because of obvious reasons about Iowa State, they have been, quite frankly, masters, given their resources and constraints, of scouting and development. I think that is very clear. I think some of the reasons why Matt Campbell does not have a Penn State level job, or did not get, I should say, a Penn State level job within the last decade, namely Florida State, was because he did not want to play the Stars game. So recruiting stars game. So I am very interested, especially in how this recruiting class is going to look, because they are going to take guys that they believe, Matt and his personnel staff believe, can help them, and are certain body types, for instance, that may be raw, or are certain players that you may have never heard of because of their connections that go all the way back to Mountain Union, et cetera, that I think are going to raise some eyebrows at Penn State, because Penn State is used to having Sunday players. And not just Sunday players on the way out, guys who you could tab as Sunday players when they came in. And I think that is something that at Penn State people are going to have to get probably a little used to. Now, Matt is also probably going to have to get used to having to play some Stars games because of where you are. But I'm very interested in that push-pull, especially in a signing class that I think just by default is going to have to be pretty damn big. Just by numbers, because of what it doesn't have, Alex, as you're saying, in the December window. But as far as process is concerned, I think that I think we should define, or I should define, why I think this was bad process. Because I think bad process can mean a lot of different things at a lot of different schools. I think that bad process, specifically as it relates to this Penn State search, is effectively shutting it down for a lateral poaching that was pretty far out of left field for very specific reasons. It's not like they were laterally poaching even like a Mike Elko, right? They were laterally poaching the Mormon coach from BYU who had an intense interest in creating leverage, which is not to say that this was a pure leverage game, because, and Godfrey may disagree, we haven't talked about it, but I will pretty much say till my dying day that Kalani Sitake was going to take this job until he wasn't, like right up until.